adjustment period. So it really does make more sense because they're really able to take full advantage of the funds that are received from the seller, or if they're using their own funds, it's their own money. So that's just kind of my personal recommendation there. But I wanted to touch a little bit on some of this information that I included in here. So it's a list of about 18 things. I know it seems overwhelming, but we have a lot of really great benefits when it comes to working with us. So we've got our pre-approval and our homebuyer education classes in education. So really what this is just that upfront initial consultation with your clients to review all of the different loan scenarios that are available to them, make sure they fully understand the loan programs that we're presenting to them and making necessary adjustments, and just really truly making sure they feel completely educated and they understand what they're getting themselves into. The last thing I would want for a client is for them to get at the end of their transaction and not really fully grasp what kind of a loan they did, why things were set up a certain way, or after the fact be like, why did I do it that way? Like the example of my clients who are doing the permanent buy down. So that's really what those are for. Our path to buy program, that's really for clients who are on a longer path to home ownership. So think clients who maybe had a bankruptcy or foreclosure recently, have a little bit more battered credit that we need to make some improvements to, or just need a little bit more time seasoning in their jobs and things like that. So what that program does is it allows us to put together a more cohesive plan for them with some step-by-step guidance and follow-up scenarios for them into the future so that we don't ever lose touch with those clients. Mortgage coach and total cost analysis. I've included a link here to some videos that I've put together in the past, just so you can kind of see a little bit better idea of what that might entail. We guarantee our pre-approvals and our closing costs, so I've included a link there just so you have a little bit better understanding of what that all includes, but we do back all of that with a money-back guarantee. So as an example, if we guarantee our pre-approval and your client goes under contract, and for some reason we can't close, having to do something to do with the loan, and we lose their earnest money, we will reimburse that up to $10,000. So I'm not ever going to issue a pre-approval without 100% certainty that your client can move forward. So that's just another security piece in there. We also guarantee our closing costs, and we guarantee we'll meet our closing dates. We're locally owned and operated, and so we have in-house underwriting, processing, funding, and closing. I'm locally here in Denver. You can usually see the snow outside of my window. I'm right here in the DTC area. We have offerings for quick closings when we can accommodate those, so we can close as quickly as we need to. Quickest timeline that you can close from a trade perspective and client's perspective is going to be 8 business days from the date your borrower signs their application. So if that's a scenario that would be beneficial to them when they're making their offers, that's certainly something we can accommodate. We've got our trauma loans. So that's for if you've got a transaction that might be crashing at another lender, or something has just come up and the client's no longer comfortable. We can usually let you know within 24 hours if we can move forward, and then we can take over the closing transaction from there. We've got a pretty extensive post-closing follow-up campaign that we launched last year that just gives us a lot more touch points throughout the transaction of up to 5 minimum. Just making sure the client has everything they need when it comes to home ownership, and just making sure we're always top of mind. We've got the Zenith for Life refinance program. So every transaction after the initial transaction, we will cover their lender costs and their appraisal fees for any future refinance to really make sure we're benefiting them for the long term. Annual mortgage reviews, we do those once annually just to make sure we're always paying attention to any refinance opportunities, and just making sure your client's always in the right loan program for their current state, given finances, home improvements, family growth or reduction, and things like that. We do have access to HomeBot, so you can be a sponsored agent with us. We sign all of our clients up for HomeBot, but if it's something that you're interested in utilizing, that's certainly something that we can sponsor you for. We also have our own CRM. I know a lot of agents don't necessarily use a CRM, or it's tied to their company. This is a really nice option too, and it's pretty inexpensive. You can start one. There's a 7-day free trial, but we can also do programs as low as $39 per month, which I think is pretty inexpensive. But I've included a link so you can kind of see that. We have our Zenith Studio access fully available to you now. So you can come in and reserve the room, and all of the recording equipment and everything. It's all professionally installed, lighting, sound, all of that stuff. And we can do joint information. We can do joint recordings. If you have just some stuff that you want to record on your own, you have access to that studio free of charge. We have our Zenith at Work program, which is something we launched about a year ago. that just sets us up into some scenarios within different companies. So if you have good access to HR departments and things like that, I've also personally utilized it to support first responders and teachers. So that's certainly something that we can look further into. Any joint marketing efforts on your social media platforms and things like that. We have a referral network access for clients that I personally use. So I've also included a link to some interviews that I've done with actual clients. So my big goal there is to try to get business back to my clients and use those as a referral network. So if somebody is reaching out to me for something that I might have a client who does that work, I can then refer business back to my client. I think that would be the ultimate thank you for using me. So that's something that I've put together. I've got my Realtor Mastermind classes, so I've included the sign up. We have those booked out through August. And then, of course, doing homebuyer education classes or even home equity education classes for all of our first-time home owners that have found themselves in a position where they've got a lot of equity in their property. So that complete list is in the email. I know this is a really long video for you today, but I really just wanted to make sure you knew what you have access to as a partner of mine. So hopefully this is helpful information for you. I hope you have a really wonderful weekend. If there is anything that I can do for you, you know